Farmers Policy Perks are that little extra something you can get when you're a Farmers customer. So to tell you about them, we're adding a little extra something to this ad, smooth saxophone riffs. When you have a Farmers Home Policy with guaranteed replacement cost, if your home gets destroyed, we'll pay to rebuild it regardless of your limits. Dig it. It's a whole lot of something. Get a quote at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Optional coverage not available in every state. Only available with select farmers-branded policies. Subject to terms and conditions. Underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate.
Have you cut the cord and are feeling bored with your streaming services? CuriosityStream can help. With thousands of documentary films and TV shows, let CuriosityStream put the science back in your screen time. Astound you with history come to life and wildlife that will reach out and grab you. We've got the fix for your nonfiction addiction. Watch us on any device, anywhere you are. Visit CuriosityStream.com to sign up and start streaming now.
Here's Dulon working it into the corner and turning on the wall. Trying to clear the but Patrick scores! James Patrick jumped up into the play, took the pass from Dulon and drills it home, and now it's 3-2.
Kudos. Let me say, nice job, Corey Griswold. And I'll also apologize to James Patrick before we even get him on the show. The former Sabre assistant coach is joining us. We're going to talk about Peyton Krebs. James, first off, good morning. It's Howard and Jeremy. Nice to have you back on the air here in Buffalo. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Howard. Nice to be back on. Nice to talk to you after so many years. And even an old clip of one of the 3 goals I ever scored for Sabre. So that's some deep research.
That's why I have to apologize to you. Okay, so Corey says to me in the break, he said, James is ready. I'm coming back with a Patrick goal. And I'm like, really? How many were there? I don't mean to, nice job. There couldn't have been that many. So I pull up your stats at hockeyreference.com. Here we go. And in 6 years with the Sabres, you had 23 goals. So, I mean, it's not like Rob Ray. You had goals.
Well, yeah, I mean, back then, though, you could score from the blue line on a slap shot because of where goaltending was. I'm kidding. Definitely early in my career, that's where it was. But, yeah, I didn't even think I scored that many.
I was impressed.
That's a shock.
That's why I owe you an apology. So we got you on to talk about Peyton Krebs. And of all the things that, we're going to learn about him from you on the ice, off the ice, if you had to say, if someone asked you, what is the most important thing we should know about Peyton Krebs that you learned while coaching him, what do you think it would be?
Well, the biggest thing I ever learned from him is the most driven athlete I've ever coached. And 90% of it is good, 10% bad. And I'm talking, even my time in Dallas and Buffalo, coaching with the Sabres. There were driven athletes. There were athletes who would do anything to make themselves better. And I mean, when I look at the Sabres those years, I think of Jason Pominville started out was a 3rd-round draft pick, smaller stature, not the fastest guy, and I think he had an incredible career. And he was too slow to play in the NHL. And I remember the year I started coaching. We sent him back to Rochester. Mm-hmm. That he could have got picked up on waivers, and then came back and then ended up having a great career and was a big part of those Sabres years. So I think that's a driven athlete. And Palmer was quiet, not overly outspoken, but did he compete? Did he work? Did he do everything in the off season to make himself as good as possible? When I started coaching Peyton at 16, and a big part of coaching at this level is trying to pass on what we learned as players from over the course of our career. I started out. John Clem was my assistant coach, who played 15 years in the league, and so all the stuff, the lessons and everything, trying to guide these young players. Everything that we talk about with players, Peyton was doing at 16. And I'm talking his work ethic in practice, every day coming to try and get better at the rink. Eating, I mean, he was really regimented in his eating and his sleeping, and then the love of the game, passion for the game. So that's how it started with him. But when I talk about drive, hating to lose, he wants to be the guy, wants to have the puck, has no fear about having the puck in key situations in a game, late in the game, in overtime. And he had that at 16, and he had it even when I watched him play his first, 5-10 games in Vegas. There was no fear, and this is I think his drive is something that his compete and his drive are something that you'll learn once you get to know him.
You said, James, 90% great, 10% bad when it comes to the drive. Is that just a young player that you think needs to find a way to sometimes harness it, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, that's pretty much that. He would get. I think sometimes he would let the frustrations get the best of him. Sometimes he try and do too much himself. And where our team and the similarities between junior teams and NHL teams are very similar, from drafting and developing and building a culture. And, when there was a new ownership group, new management, and myself came into this team 5 years ago, and there was a lot of work to be done. And you have some older players, you have some players that were kind of entrenched in the organization, and so then and Peyton was our first round pick a year before, and so he was a huge part of our future coming forward. And as the we had some kids that we had to move on from, kids that weren't the best examples for young players. And so certainly by Peyton's 17-year-old year, he was the captain. He was a huge part of the culture here. So when I talk about probably the 10% bad, there was times that he would try and do everything himself and try and, every time he got the puck, wanted to go end to end. And so even as far as coaching, I had to try and eliminate 90% of that to get him, kick it and drive. And so, I mean, the wanting to win, the desire he wants to beat the guy on the other team. He would take losses tough. When we would, certainly by his 17, 18-year-old year, every time he was on the ice, he was playing against the other team's 19, 20-year-olds, and their game plan. I'll go back just his 17-year-old year. We did not have much to. We didn't have much depth on our team, and I mean he was our star and our only top end player. So every team's game plan was to run the heck out of him, and he was playing against 19, 20-year-olds. And there were some frustrating nights, but it never stopped his will to get better. I think for his stature, he's very strong on the puck, and I think it started, back in his 17-year-old year when he took a lot of abuse, but he just kept on competing.
We're with James Patrick here talking about Peyton Krebs a little bit. James, I mean, is part of a big trade, a trade of a star player. He is a top prospect. He's one of those guys where you hear, well, they're holding out for this kid or else they're not making the trade. How do you think he will handle pressure that comes with that?
Yeah, he's extremely self-motivated, and I am very confident. And I will say this: when things don't go well for him, he just works harder and gets to the grindstone. And so there's no. I think he has enough belief in himself that he's not going to let it affect him in a negative way.
Right.
I know. I haven't talked to Kevin, but I've talked to a couple of their scouts. Before the deal was made, and then one since, and it was, listen, he is a real important part of the trade. And the three, well, there was 4 top draft picks in our league that year of Peyton's draft, and Byron Boehm was the hands down top player. But then you had Cousins and Kirby Doc and Peyton, and they were all pretty close. Like Peyton ended up tearing his Achilles tendon, a week before the draft, and I think it affected his draft. I think he probably dropped 7 or 8 spots. But, so I went that year, he was in that league. We would play Saskatoon, and I felt almost every game Peyton would outplay Kirby Dach. Now, Kirby Dach's 6'4", and I think that is very appealing, and he's a good player. But that's kind of that's where he was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and now, his path to the NHL has taken a bit of a different turn. But I'm telling you, like even when he got traded and then sent down right away, I've had a couple conversations about him, and I've told I just need to remind him it's not going to change your work ethic, it's not going to change your drive and your will to get better. None of that is going to change because I know you. The only thing is now you're doing it in Rochester, you're not doing it in Buffalo. And like every young kid, he wants to get to the NHL as quick as can be. And so I've talked to him about it. It's your career is still going to be on the same path and the same trajectory, even if you're down there for a month, 3 months, or this whole year. But as far as the pressure of the trade, and I know it could affect some young players. And I mean, when I think about my nephew who's gone through a lot of injuries and it's really affected his career. His mindset, his mental game, there's a definite doubt and lack of confidence under what he's gone through. And I would describe Peyton as almost the total opposite of this kid. He's got drive and he's got work ethic, and so those are the things that he always goes back to. So I don't think the pressure is going to affect him like it could some other young players.
We're looking forward to seeing him, and we thank you, James. Nice to have you on again. Thanks again for giving us some time and talking about Peyton with us.
Okay, Howard, all the best.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too.
Thanks, James. We'll get a break. Extendo Sports on the way. Top of the hour, of course, it is the Extra Point Show. Sal and Joe together with you today at 10 on WGR.
Farmers Policy Perks are that little extra something you can get when you're a farmer's customer. So to tell you about them, we're adding a little extra something to this ad. Another me. And when you have multiple farmers policies, you could save up to 45% on your auto insurance with the Auto Multi-Policy discount. What's going on with our voice? I thought I'd add some drama. Well, isn't that something? Get a quote at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Not available in every state. Only available with select Farmers branded policies. Subject to terms and conditions. Underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges, Farmers New World Life Insurance Company or affiliate.
Hey, nice party.
Yeah? What's new with you?
Did you know blue whales in Hawaii can be heard off the coast of California?
What?
And time travel to the future may actually be possible.
How is that?
I discovered it on CuriosityStream.
I'm listening.
You can stream thousands of shows on nature, history, science, and so much more.
Cool.
And at $1.67 a month, it's the best deal in streaming.
Now I want to go back in time. Sign up for that deal.
Sign up now at CuriosityStream.com.
CuriosityStream.com.
That's it, CuriosityStream.com.
I'm Shayna.
And I'm Tracy, and we're the hosts of Band of Mothers podcasts. We're a little Wait, Don't Tell Me meets This American Life meets Thelma and Louise.
I can't wait to drive off a cliff with you.
You've been saying that since the 8th grade.
Each week we feature real stories from moms just like you. Plus, we've got live performances, in-studio interviews, games, original music, and more.
So join our Band of Mothers and subscribe now on the Odyssey app or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
It's the Band of Mothers podcast.